guys, welcome back to part number 2 of this chopper build. So what we did in the first video was we kind of drew out our design, kind of got what we wanted, put that to a piece of steel, cut it out, profiled it, put our bevels in. We're doing a convex grind, so it's actually curved like this. To get to that point, we did a flat grind first, didn't go all the way, then we brought it to the rotary platen, finished that off. We also ground in some fullers here, and basically we took the knife to this point. Now, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be figuring out what we're doing for the scales on this thing. I'll be drilling the holes for that, probably going to put in some jimping on here, maybe a little back here, and I'm just going to kind of continue with the build. One thing I do need to address, I never told you about in the first part of the series, I've got a little whoopsie-doo right there. That was for me touching this on the grinder during the grinding process, and one thing that I kept doing constantly, kind of grind like this and I'd go for the water, and when I go to dunk in the water, I was always hitting the tip of the blade on the belt grinder, and I needed to kind of teach myself to be very cognizant of the length of the blade. So I'd grind, I consciously pull it away and then put it in the water, just because it's funny, you know, you're used to working on small blades and you develop habits and routines in the way you move, and then when you start working on a bigger blade like this, you kind of have to reteach yourself how you move about your machine sometimes. So I learned that lesson very quickly before we got done the grind, so I didn't wreck the grind, but I bet 5 times I'll go zink, zink, and I just kept hitting the tip of it. So thankfully, I learned that lesson. I kind of forced myself to remember before we got carried away with the grinds, and then we pretty much just took this to a hand-sanded finish. It's looking pretty good. Definitely didn't need to go this far before heat treat, but we're just gonna go ahead and carry on with this. But before I get to that, I've got to build a box, a wooden box for my daughter. She's got a ballet solo. She does competitive dance, and she's got this thing where she starts out on a box and she has to jump down, but the one that the studio had was too high, so I'm making her a shorter one. So I picked up some nice birch plywood. I'm gonna make her a quick box real quick. Once we're done that, we'll get back on this.
All alone on the internet, but you don't seem to forget about yourself. About the trees and the seas, how it's all connected. The flowers and the birds and bees, the northern lights, yeah, we're all affected.
Alright, so we've got this little box done. We're gonna let the glue dry, and then I'll put some 2x2s along each edge right there, and then glue those in, and then I'll screw them in from the sides for reinforcement, but nice and level, good, sturdy. For my little girl, it's gotta be done right. Alright guys, we can get back to the knife now. What I've done is I've put a poll on my Instagram feed as to which color or which scales I should use. I've got these are dyed and stabilized Buckeye Burl, I believe they are. And I've got a green pair here, really nice, or a set of brown. So which scales do you think we should use on this blade? We're gonna leave that open for a little bit. Let's see what people are saying so far. Okay, so far 59% for the green, 41% for the brown. We'll leave that up a little bit more, but what we're gonna do now is we will go ahead and I've kind of roughly sketched out where I think the scale should be, kind of, sort of. I'm gonna refine that a little bit, and then once we've got that done, we can go ahead and drill some holes. I'll figure out where I'm gonna put the jimping in, and hopefully by that point, once we've got all this done, I think that's when we'll go ahead and take our input from you guys on Instagram, and we'll go ahead and drill our scales. Also, I finally got a proper handle for my checkering file. This is so much better. I had a golf ball in here before. That's ridiculous. working on getting some stuff ready for the frame lock folder. And I was trying to dial in my slitting saw. This thing's a piece of junk. I need a better mandrel. This is one of those stepped mandrels. Absolute garbage. I can't get this thing centered, so I need to sort this out later. All right, so one thing I did off camera, I forgot to put in the lanyard hole, so I just kind of marked that out. Pretty much centered there, just leaving it a 1/4 inch hole. Put a piece of paracord through there for the chopping so it doesn't go whizzing out of the old hands. And right now, it is actually lunchtime, so I'm gonna head in and grab a bite to eat, but I'm also gonna do something fairly important. First things first, what do we have for lunch? And check the fridge. Oh, I hope you have some leftovers. Rice. Oh man. Nothing is speaking to me right now. Anyways, this important thing, let's get onto that. Here we go, this is what I'm talking about. 3/16 pivot size, 2 pairs. Oh, that is so good. Okay, got my nice Americano ready. I'm good to go again. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and do some spine work. Basically the jimping is gonna go right there and right here. All right, now I'm actually just putting this file guide. This was just a real junky file guide that I had made. I'm just, this kind of square, doesn't need to be square, but I'm putting that on there so that I've got a place to guide my checkering file. And as you can see, these checkering files, they've got safe edges on them, so the sides don't have any teeth. And so I'll be able to just kind of run the side up against this guide, and that will help keep my grooves in the same spot. I think that should help out. So let's see how it works. All right, so we've got our jimping done. Really nice spot for it there. And then this little bit, this is more just for decoration. I don't know. Turned out pretty good. Now what we're gonna do is, remember earlier I'd mentioned this little artifact, this little whoopsie-doo. Where is it now? It's right there. Anyways, it's hard to see. I might be able to finish that out. I'm not entirely sure, but what I thought I would do is recently I picked up a 5-inch contact wheel for my grinder. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead, maybe I'm not. I gotta think about this. I was thinking about clamping this up and then putting in like a bit of basically like a little swedge here, a 5-inch hologram swedge. But the issue with that is that now that this bevel's in place, it's gonna be really hard to locate it as well. Because it's a convex grind, and I actually mentioned that I would show that to you, so I may as well do that now. Whoops. Okay, so you see this? Hopefully that kind of shows up. Here, let me see if I can do some autofocus stuff. You know what? See how that rocks back and forth? Of course, all you really see in focus is my eyeball. Let me see if I hold this like this. Get the camera preoccupied. Okay. So you see that? Indeed, we have a convex grind. I know it doesn't look like it too much, but it is a convex grind. It's not a whole lot. It's not a ton, but it is there. And again, you don't want it to be like a bullnose crazy thing like this. You just want it to be a nice gentle curve, keep a lot of strength right up until the tip. And then I was also asked, one of the questions I was asked in the last video is if I was going to put a convex edge on it, and indeed when I go to sharpen it, I will do a convex edge. I sharpened up a meat slicing knife that I'd made, and I did that with the rotary platen, and it worked really, really good. So I'm just gonna have to think about this for a minute and figure out what I wanna do about this little thing. So, you know, sometimes when you just overcomplicate things, I think that's what I was doing. I was kind of thinking that, I had to come up with some way to do this on my machine, when really it was such an insignificant little mark. All I did is I put it in the vise and I took my file to it and I just kind of filed the edges off, just kind of radius this a little bit, so I kind of started coming like this and worked it around, and then I hit it with some emery cloth, and that mark is non-existent now, and we got a nice curvature on here. So it's not a hard spine at all, which actually I really like this. It's really nice. Probably be easier in and out of a sheath and stuff as well. But we just took files there and just put a nice little radius, just kind of toned that down a little bit. And really that solution was so simple. I was just kind of overcomplicating things, so that's good. I'm glad that's done. Now we can move on to the scales, and for the final recollection, let's see what the final vote is. Looks like we're going with the green, 57 to 43. An epic tragedy. Well, not really an epic tragedy, but it sucks. The scale broke. That's the one thing when you're dealing with these burls, is that even though it's well stabilized, like you may have noticed when we were drilling, I mean, this thing's plastic. I mean, there's plastic everywhere. Really not a lot for voids. There's a couple here and there, but they're very fragile, and I knew that. I mean, I've never worked with them before, but I knew they're fragile. I guess I just didn't know they were that. Well, shoot. You know, I had a really nice fit here with this, and just trying to get everything just all lined up really good. And then I was pulling these apart, and it broke. I thought I had the camera rolling too. Like, I was trying to fit the scales on just to see what they looked like. I must not have pressed the record button. And the old 1-2 scalaroo broke. You know, the part that really sucks, that these scales were like 30 bucks, 35 bucks. Down the drain. That's just cheese ball. Cheese ball and a half right there. Makes me so torqued at myself. Come on. Oh well, that's totally okay. Whatever. As you can tell, it is the end of the day. Not much more time for working today. And we're gonna end the vlog right there. I do apologize, guys. It feels like I got very little done on this blade. But one thing with this project, one thing that I wanted to do when I started out with this was to slow myself down. That's why I'm not doing it day after day. I mean, I've got a lot of other work that I'm taking care of in the days that I'm not filming this. But even when I am filming, usually try and work as quickly as I can. And so I'm forcing myself to go slower just to see what kind of a difference that makes. And apparently it doesn't pay off. I mean, maybe I was not cognizant of going slow when I did this. And actually when I look really closely at that burl, I can see exactly why it cracked there. So I guess we did make some progress though. We got our jimping in, we kind of fixed that little whoopsie-doo on the spine there, and we got our holes drilled, and we got a set of scales like 70% of the way. But now now we're like 0% of the way. We're gonna start all over again. Probably not gonna use a burl on this. I think I need to be a little more careful when I'm working with this stuff. Oh, what a heartbreak that was. Anyways, we'll figure out some other options for scales, and we'll get something else done. So again, sorry guys, sorry we didn't have more to show you in this video, but it is what it is. Well, thanks for coming along with me today, guys. You know, the ups and the downs is fun, I guess, to be able to share some of the fails on this channel too. A lot of times when you film a knife build, it's all just, everything goes perfectly. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't go perfectly. It's just how it is. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I thank you guys so much for watching. Cheers.